So I wanted to talk about my testimony about being healed from some major disabilities and health issues that I believe was caused by the devil himself. So it all started in November 2017. I got a mild knee injury from exercising, and I didn't really think too much about it, but it kept getting worse and worse. 3 weeks later, I went to the urgent care and got x-rays. They said I had arthritis, and they said that I should exercise and move it as much as possible. So I really took them literally. That night I went to the gym, worked out super hard. Actually went with some friends to this event where we were walking around for hours in the cold. I remember it was December 8th. And I got home, I was okay. The next morning I woke up and I could not walk. My knees were so damaged, both knees at this point in time, both knees. This was way more than a minor injury from exercise. This was something else going on. I really felt like it was an attack from the enemy. I woke up just sobbing in horror with this situation. Imagine waking up and you can't walk. Absolutely horrifying. My knees were not stable. They kept buckling and hyperextending. They were very painful, stiff, tight. Something was majorly wrong. I went to the emergency room and I got crutches because I really could not stand up or walk for more than 30 seconds without excruciating pain and major disability. So things kept getting worse with my knees. I was going to and from work every day. I finally had to break the lease on my apartment because I had stairs and couldn't go up and downstairs anymore. Owed them a lot of money, and I moved in with my mom for 3 months. It got so bad that I ended up taking 2 weeks off of work so that I can just try to heal. And during this time, I was in physical therapy. I had so many MRIs and x-rays. The doctors didn't know what was wrong, but they determined it was not arthritis, that I was wrongly diagnosed. So when I went back to work, I went back part-time after the 2 weeks off. And so I would go to physical therapy in the morning and work in the afternoon. And this one morning I woke up and I was getting ready for physical therapy, right? And something got in my eye. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was the worst pain in my eye I ever had. And it would not go away. I kept trying to wash it out, kept trying to get whatever it was in there out. And I couldn't. So I called the eye doctor and I said, I need to get in right away to see what's going on with my eye. I cannot go to work like this. And they said, okay, we'll try to get you in within the next 24 hours. And I panicked because I had already missed 2 weeks of work, and that's a huge deal to me. And I was on part-time, and I didn't want to not go in because of my eye. I felt like they thought I would be faking, but I was not faking. All these things were really happening to me at one time. It was horrifying. So I really freaked out at this point in time. Not being able to walk well. I was using a walker and, worried about work and everything. And then this thing with my eye was just too overwhelming for me to take. I had a nervous breakdown and I had made up my mind that I was going to go waste away under a bridge. So I got my things and I told my mom I'm out. And I was about to walk out the door, and then my phone rang, and it was the eye doctor saying they could get me in. It was they said they could get me in at 10 a.m. Went in at 10 a.m. Whatever was in my eye was lodged way deep in there, and they were able to get it out, and I made it to work on time. That's another testimony in and of itself. When you're about to make a really bad decision and God stops you, He stopped me that day, and I'm so absolutely grateful for that. Kept dealing with these issues with my knees for months. I would have dreams sometimes where in my dream I knew I was injured, but in my dream I was healed and I was able to run and jump and everything that I was able to do before. And I was so happy in my dreams. But then I woke up back to reality and I still could not walk. It was horrifying. I had like 4 appointments a week. My job was working with me because I had to go to physical therapy and other appointments to try to get my knees to be better. So I was going to so many appointments to try to fix my knees. And my knees started getting a little better. I moved into an apartment 3 months later that had an elevator. And at this point in time, I was able to stop using the walker, but I had used my walker for 5 months. And I tried physical therapy. I tried aqua therapy. I was going to a chiropractor. I was getting laser light therapy and dry needling. All natural ways of trying to treat this. I did get cortisone shots, but that was the only really medication that I got other than taking NSAIDs. At this point in time, I was trying to sleep a lot so that I could heal my knees. And then my shoulders started to get messed up. It got so bad to where I could barely sleep. My shoulders hurt so bad. I went for months without sleeping. Not sleeping was worse than not being able to walk. You don't understand, but if you can't sleep because of chronic pain, it messes with your mind. I had a lot of anxiety. I was angry. I was very irrational with my way of thinking because I did not get sleep. We are not meant to not get sleep at night. Sleep is so important to our mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being. So my shoulders just kept getting worse and worse, and one day in particular I was doing exercises for my knees, right, and I needed to use my arms for them, but not heavy duty. All of a sudden I had this excruciating pain in my left shoulder, right here in my pec. It felt like something tore. It was level 10 pain. I'm telling you, it was absolutely unlivable. I went to the emergency room. They gave me cortisone shots and NSAIDs, and that helped a little bit, but not a whole lot. And to be honest with you, my job, what I do all day is I'm on the computer and I use the mouse and keyboard all day. And so that was starting to affect work. So as my shoulders kept getting more and more painful when I worked, and of course I wasn't getting any sleep at this point in time. Some nights I would get sleep, maybe 3 to 5 hours a night, but that was not enough at all. Everything was taking a toll. At least my knees were getting better, but now my shoulders were getting really bad. I ended up having to take off of work again. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I went to physical therapy. I was doing all the other modalities I was telling you before: physical therapy, the chiropractor, laser light therapy, some motion sensor therapy, different types of natural therapies, dry needling, which is similar to acupuncture, but not really. It helps you to heal, and it helps to get rid of trigger points that cause a lot of issues. So we figured out that my muscles were having issues. They were flaring up and they were pinching my nerves. So that's what was causing the pain and disability, tightness, weakness, everything. And I was doing so much exercise, not overdoing it, because I found, my middle ground with overdoing it or underdoing it. I found the middle ground with how much I needed to do. I was, trying to strengthen myself. It's not like I wasn't doing everything I possibly could to try to get rid of this. People that didn't understand what I was going through would try to give advice, and it's like, you can't give advice on something you know nothing about. All I want is advice from doctors and God, and that's it. They had prescribed me different medications for fibromyalgia. In fact, they actually prescribed fibromyalgia patients with antidepressants. Antidepressants help with pain, and these are major antidepressants that they prescribe you. So at first they had prescribed me amitriptyline. I had some bad side effects from that. I almost passed out driving one time, so I stopped taking that. The other thing they prescribed me was Cymbalta, but I did not want to take that. I didn't end up taking it. Not at that time, anyway. So I ended up missing 9 weeks of work. I was already looking into what I could do if I lost my job, and I was really seriously considering disability retirement at age 37. I went to the VA because I'm a veteran, and I served not during the Gulf War, but in 2003 when we went out to the Middle East. They consider that a Gulf War also. There's something called Gulf War syndrome where it causes a bunch of multi-symptom issues. Like one of them is fibromyalgia, other things like chronic fatigue syndrome. I had both of these. Major chronic fatigue, not just from not being able to sleep, but I had this before. I've had this for a long time. But so all of the symptoms I had sounded like Gulf War syndrome. So I got tested for that, and I also applied for disability under that to see if that's what they thought I had. This point in time, I was still really trying to get sleep. I went through 6 different mattresses, 6 different bed positionings. I got the adjustable frame that goes up, on your head and your feet when you're sleeping. I tried different mattress toppers, different towel positions, different pillow positions. I spent so much money trying things over and over and over, everything out there that you can think of to try to sleep. I tried it and nothing was working. I got a recliner because I thought maybe that it could be another thing that could help me sleep. I don't care what it is. I just want to fall asleep without pain. And in this recliner one night, I did fall asleep for a little while, and I had a dream. And in my dream, it was in my living room, and my living room looked exactly like it does in real life, and my TV's right there in front of me, right? So in my dream, my TV turned on, but it was blue, and then God's voice came out of it and said, "It won't always be like this." And what I interpreted that to mean was that it wasn't always going to be to where I couldn't get sleep like this. But still, for months later after that, I couldn't get much sleep. Started getting more like 3 to 5 hours, started finding different ways with the mattresses and everything to try to get as much sleep as possible. So I went back to work. After 9 weeks being off from my shoulders had gotten better. I got some speech software so that I didn't have to use the mouse and keyboard as much. I got so many different mice, so many different keyboards, so many different ergonomic setups in my office. So I went back part-time, and I still had major pain and disability, but not like before, at least. So I just kept working through it. My motto is I keep going until I can't go anymore. What else are you going to do? Then after that, I went back full time, and the pain got better and better, and the disability started to wane off and get better. And I kept praying to God. I just kept asking, God, are you going to heal me? I would be laying in my closet for hours, or just sitting, wherever, the living room, wherever, the kitchen, just laying there for hours and saying, I'm not going to leave here, God, until you heal me. And I kept feeling like he was speaking to my heart and saying he was going to heal me. But I wasn't healed yet. So at this point in time, I was doing okay at work. I was just like a warrior, just keep continuing to go on with my physical therapy, using the speech software. I didn't want to be someone who gave up, even though I don't think that just because you can't do it that you're giving up. If you can't do it, you can't do it. If you have to retire in disability retirement, that might be God's will. And I kept trying to be in the frame of mind where I would accept that if it was his will. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not ideal because it's so hard to get disability, and it takes years, especially with Social Security. Fortunately, I'm a veteran and I work for the federal government, so I could get disability from them too, and it's a little easier. But Social Security is so difficult. People who should really be on Social Security are not, and they're homeless because they're disabled and they can't work. So keep that as something in prayer. This is something that's I would say it's a major social issue that needs to be addressed. I think most people are homeless because they're too disabled to work. And they either cannot get Social Security, or they just don't have enough money to be able to get off the streets. Disabled people should not fall through the cracks like they do. And I'm praying for God to give me guidance and maybe how to address this. And I pray that you also pray for God on guidance about that, because the work is plentiful and the laborers are few. If there were more laborers, there wouldn't be any homeless people. So as I was back at work, right, for a couple months, I was doing good until my back went out on me. My back went out on me probably a week before I had to stop working again. And it was due to my mattresses. They ended up not working out. They worked out at first, and then later on, they caused me the most severe back pain and disabilities. And it was just like what had happened in my knees and shoulders was happening in my back. This was the fibromyalgia just moving from place to place on my body and causing major disability and pain. And so this one day at work, the day I had to stop working again, was absolutely devastating. I was sitting there trying out different chairs just to see what would work, how I would be able to sit there and do my job, and nothing worked. The pain and the disability and everything was so horrible. And I laid down on the ground for a long time. I closed my door. Fortunately, I'm in an office, and you can't see in the office when the door is closed. So I had that privacy. I laid down for an hour, tried everything I could to try to get rid of this. I did stretches. I used different types of muscle creams to help with the pain. Arnica works really good. I like arnica mixed with some other type of oil. That does help, but it didn't help me in this situation. I was taking different supplements like turmeric, different things for anti-inflammatory, doing everything I could, and the pain was so excruciating and severe. So I told my boss I had to leave work again. I was in tears, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to the emergency room, see if they can give me some medication so maybe I can come back to work tomorrow. So I went to the emergency room. I got a shot of a cortisone shot, and I got an NSAID shot, and it helped a little bit, but not to the point to where I could go back to work. At this point in time, I figured I'm going to try the Cymbalta. Now, I knew Cymbalta is a big risk because it has a black box warning on it to where it can cause depression and suicidal thoughts and things like that. And there's also some lawsuits out there from Cymbalta withdrawal syndrome, because if you start taking this and you don't wean off of it properly, you have the worst withdrawal symptoms, I think. And don't quote me on this, you might want to look it up again, but I think it has caused death in a couple situations. And even if you wean off of it little by little, it's still severe withdrawal symptoms. But I figured, what am I gonna do? I am at the point to where I'm not working again. I'm running out of leave. You get so much leave in the federal government. By now, if I was employed by anybody but the federal government, I think I would have been fired. I was coming up on, the FMLA standard, which is 12 weeks you can miss for major health issues or taking care of a family member or whatever during the work year. 12 weeks. And then after that, they can let you go. So I took the Cymbalta. The next day I woke up and all the muscles in my back were rock hard. Something had happened with that Cymbalta. It was just really strange. The next day I took it and I had an upset stomach. And so I called the nurse and I let her know, and she said, oh, maybe just take one every other day. I don't know what was prompting me, but something was speaking to me. I give glory to God for this. I think it was God saying to me, look up the side effects of Cymbalta on YouTube. So I did. I challenge you to look it up too. That or any other heavy duty drug. Look up the side effects. Cymbalta has horrible, horrible side effects other than what I already told you. It destroys people's brains. It's a neurotransmitter blocker, I think. And you can just imagine what that's doing in your brain, to your cells in your brain and everything else. It changes your personality. I hear that it causes anger. I hear that it turns you into a zombie eventually, and you just feel so horrible and wish you had never started it. And some people are at the point of no return. So I looked at all of these different YouTube videos, and I saw it also can destroy your urinary tract system. I mean, the stuff eventually kills you. You know what I mean? So it's like you either deal with the pain and disability, or you deal with what Cymbalta is going to do to you. You're going to have the pain and disability anyway, and it's going to destroy your brain. So I decided I'm not going to take this. I'm done. I flushed them down the toilet. I was done. And I knew the risk to not taking this too, because I had to get permission from the doctor. They had to write me a slip to be able to miss work. But if I'm not taking the prescribed medicines that they give me and I'm asking to miss work, there's a lot of situations where they probably won't write you up that doctor's note. And also, it's probably even that much harder to get Social Security if you don't take the prescribed medications. But I'm telling you, the pharmaceutical industry is a scam. They want you to take all these different medications that are just horrible for your body, but it's all about a profit margin. And the doctors have bought into it. Everybody in Western culture has bought into this pharmaceutical scam, even Social Security Administration. So you see how horrible it is that you have to just basically destroy yourself in order to get a doctor's note or get Social Security. And I'm not willing to do that. I knew the risk, and I was more willing to not get the doctor's note, get in trouble with work, eventually get fired, have no income, than destroy my brain. So that's the route I took. Fortunately, my doctor was upset I didn't take it, but she still wrote me the doctor's note. I missed another 6 weeks of work. I went back to work again part-time, and I was doing a little bit better. I was able to work part-time just like before with the other ailments, and still doing all natural methods, physical therapy, chiropractic, everything natural, taking my turmeric and things like that. I also heard that turmeric helps people who have Gulf War syndrome, and it really helps with inflammation. So I went back. However, if I wasn't able to go back, this certain day I went back part-time, I had already made up my mind, if I can't go back this day, I am officially going to retire in disability retirement at age 37. But fortunately, I was able to go back. I actually got prayed over by somebody at a church who had the gift of healing. He prayed healing over me. And I don't believe his prayer necessarily is what helped me get better. I believed, it definitely helped, but God is the ultimate one who decides when he's going to heal you, when you're going to get better, what he's going to do. And he had told me before that he was going to heal me. He did. But I'll tell you what, I was still horrified during the time, just preparing for the worst and, just doing things to deal with my anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety with what I was going through, especially when I couldn't sleep. I would get in my car and just drive and listen to praise and worship music, and that helped a lot when I could drive. Sometimes I couldn't because my back, my knees, or my shoulders were hurting too bad. I couldn't drive or hardly do anything some days. You couldn't get away from the pain. Sitting still was painful. Sleeping was painful. Moving was painful. I could not get away from it. I was stuck in this prison of pain and disability that I could not get away from, and it was driving me crazy. And I think the only reason I didn't go insane was by the grace of God. So I successfully got through a part-time week at work. And then after that, I went back full-time. I was doing okay. I found a chair that worked for me. I found an ergonomic setup that worked for me with my mice, my keyboard, the keyboard tray, everything. And things just kept getting better and better. I noticed all this money in my bank account a couple months later, and I didn't know what it was from, but I thought it was a mistake. So I called my bank, and they said it was a deposit from the VA. So the VA did diagnose me with Gulf War syndrome. They determined the toxins that I was exposed to when I was deployed caused this. It caused the fibromyalgia, because it can just, you guys may have heard of, what was that thing from Vietnam? Agent Orange. Decades later, people suffered consequences of that. They got cancer and so many different horrible things that happened to them physically because of that. So this is the same thing with Gulf War syndrome. We were exposed to a lot of different things. The shots that we got, the burn pits. I was in a situation where we had an unknown aircraft over the base that could have possibly released a nerve agent. And so decades later, here I am suffering here. A lot of veterans are suffering as well. And I'll tell you what, 80% of veterans who claim Gulf War syndrome don't even get disability. But I not only got it, I got back pay from when I originally applied. And this was enough money, get this, to completely pay off all of my medical bills. Completely. I was in so much debt from the doctor's visits, the PT, the having to change apartments, the mattresses, and the sleep situation. I was in so much debt. And all of this paid off my medical bills completely. God completely not only healed me, He paid off my debt in full. And that is just an example of what He does for us with His death on the cross. He paid our debt in full. We didn't do anything to deserve it. We didn't, we continue to sin. We continue to turn our backs on God, but He forgives us if we accept the forgiveness. It's just, there is a free gift of salvation. You just have to accept it, because He wiped out your debt in full. This is just a good analogy of what He did for me. It doesn't even compare to what He did on the cross, but I'm just telling you, I didn't do anything for this, but God decided that I would go through this and that He would heal me as a testimony to Him and what He can do. I'm completely 100% healed today. It's 10 months later after I went back to work. I have not missed one day of work this year. And last year, I missed 17 weeks of work. I have no pain. I have no disabilities. I walk perfectly. No walking devices. I sleep good now. I can get my 8 hours of sleep without pain. I figured out the perfect mattress combination, and I sleep great now. No shoulder pain, no back pain. In fact, I feel better now than before I ever got any of this. It's like I'm a new creation in Christ, right? When you're in Christ, you're a new creation. The old is gone and the new has come. This is new. I almost feel like I'm in a new body. It's absolutely amazing that I got healed from this. But God heals. You know, the modalities I did helped, but God is the ultimate one who healed me. You don't get healed from fibromyalgia. You don't get healed from Gulf War syndrome. But I am completely 100% healed. I feel like in the Bible, the man who was lame and laying down and couldn't walk and do anything. And Jesus said, pick up your mat and walk. And that's me. I picked up my mat and I can walk. I can work. I can sleep. I can do so many of the things I could before. I'm a little scared to run. I can run, but I don't go for runs anymore. But maybe eventually I will. So I pray that you put your trust in Jesus Christ today. If you're dealing with any health issues, that you put it in His hands. I never thought I'd get healed from this. I never thought that I would be in the position I am today. But God made it possible. No one else did. Nothing else did. It was completely 100% God. Put your trust in Him today. Put your healing in His hands. He's got you. Thank you so much for listening to my testimony. I pray it blessed you. And I encourage you to watch my video on making a commitment to Jesus Christ, because He is worth it. He's the only way to heaven. And living a life serving Him is the only way to live. It's the best way to live. I could not be any happier or healthier than I am today. Thank you so much. God bless.